Hey everyone, welcome back to another VN Saturday. So last week we were still doing this Foretold affair game, and I don't even remember where we stopped. So let's just see, continue this one. Okay, so I think we stopped at the part where January is supposed to be taken to his his house, safe house. Yes, there we go. Okay, so January actually frowns at this task. Oh, and then she told him his only task is to keep safe. That is all there is for me to do. Kia laughs and shakes her head. Trust me, a target not getting seen by bounty hunters is the biggest job of any of this. Especially for someone as tall as you are. January perks up at the reassurance. I should have thought to say that. Oops. Let me just turn off my phone. Wi-Fi. Okay. And that's it for the briefing. Well, the morning is wasting away. We better get a move on. In a short time, we enter an alleyway behind the police station and start making our way out of the city. Kia takes the lead, naturally, with Piper following close behind. That leaves January and I side by side in the rear. It's the best state of affairs. The cover of my mask lets me glance over at January without being too noticeable, which I'm glad for. I keep wanting to get closer and hold his arm, the way a couple ought to, yet each time I move a little closer, I have to pull back. January's story about me being a bodyguard was perfect for getting me into the group. I mustn't bring any extra suspicion to our situation. Piper slows down slightly until she's walking alongside us. Her face has that knowing smile of hers. You two seem quite the pair. January and I exchange a rapid glance, and he speaks for both of us. Seer has been in my family's employ for many years. It's only natural that we're familiar with each other. I see. Still, you seem a bit too friendly to be just employer and employee. If I were your family, I'd be worried about a conflict of interest right about now. I'm afraid you're in no position to speak about the inner workings of his family. I assure you there really isn't a problem, even if we are especially close. You make a good point. Still, this isn't a pleasure trip we're on. It's nice you two are such good friends, but just keep that in mind. Yeah, right, friend. After this warning, she quickens her pace until she is right behind Kia once more. January and I look at one another again, but there's really nothing more to say. We walk in silence the rest of the way out of Meyer. I still don't know if it is actually pronounced as Meyer. It doesn't take long for us to cross the bridge to the larger land fraction and reach the very end of Meyer. I know that the city is as empty as ever. However, in this case, it can be explained by the early hour. I look over the shockingly low railing. It seems a long way down. I feel compelled to drop something off the side. After that thought, it also occurs to me that down there is where January lives. I can't imagine what the surface has to offer that the land fraction cannot. Kia calls me back to attention. They wordlessly direct me to the other side of the road. There are two vehicles. The two vehicles mentioned earlier are set waiting for us. They both seem decent enough. Hey. Again, shaking me out of my thoughts, Kia begins to strike up a conversation. Strange. So, Oxseer. It's Buffalo Seer. What? My name is Buffalo Seer, not Oxseer. My insistence is immediate, though I regret it just as quickly. I can almost feel Kia's smirk coming from behind their scarf. I'm very sorry. I didn't know you'd be so touchy about me still using the correct fake name. No, I'm sorry. To your police station for having you employed. As a fellow undercover worker, you should know that dedication to your role is paramount to success. And before you say that I'm no longer undercover, I'm still in my disguise, so it simply comes naturally, as it should for you as well. To my surprise, Kia actually looks a little impressed. They must not have expected me to stand my ground so strongly. Okay then, Buffalo Seer, since this is just a disguise and you're not really from the Wall Sanctuary, how about we start calling you by your real name? As a fellow undercover worker, I know that I feel much better when I'm able to use my true name. I can't argue the point, and I'm forced to think of something. Type in and normal name. Okay, so this is where you get to name your character. So, I named them Val, as usual. Yes, I know that feeling and agree. You may call me Val. That's fine. And are you really a they? Or is it that you're acting like you're from the sanctuary again? And then this is where you select your pronouns. So, yeah, sure, I'll stick with they. They will be fine. You can understand that, right, Kia? It's settled then. I'll inform the others. You mean you'll inform Piper, of course. January already knows. Of course. Hey, maybe I should ask him right now what your name is. He could tell me that, right? He could, but he won't. There's a strict rule that says he's forbidden from calling me by my real name while I'm undercover unless I specifically say it is okay. If you insisted it'd be done immediately, I could go explain to him that it is acceptable to use my real name, Val, and then he will come over and do so. Forget it. Done. I'll be going to the carriage now. Piper, January, and I all begin to head towards the carriage we will be riding in when Kia calls for us to wait another moment. We all gather together once more, waiting on Kia. Can whatever you're about to say be done over the radio? We don't want to attract attention. No, this will be quick. Now, I'm sure you've all figured out how I feel about this situation, but I'm going to do my best to put that aside. How good of you. I'm not finished. Then go on. Kia takes a quick moment to sigh before continuing. Because we have something important to do here, I'm going to do something I'd rather not do and make us a temporary task force. Interesting. How do we do that? One of you needs to hold out your hand, palm facing down, with your fingers straight out. That seems simple enough. I do as they describe without hesitation. Kia looks pleased. They got a volunteer so easily. Their mood changes quite rapidly. Kia then puts their hand over mine. Now you two put your hands atop ours, one over the other. Piper places her hand on top of the pile. January does nothing but look at each of us uncertainly. It's all right, Duke. You count as a member. Come on. Yes, January, do it. Remember what she said. His face shows he recalls his promise from this morning. With renewed energy, he places his hand on the very top. Good. Then, so long as we're together, we'll each do whatever we can to ensure that Duke January arrives at his home safely. No matter the risk to ourselves, we will do everything we can to ensure the success of the mission. Do you all accept? In unison, we all say yes. Since we are all agreed, I declare the four of us to be part of a special temporary task force. And that's it. You can take your hands back now. He has no talent for ending a speech. We pull back. I look at them with a bit of interest. Does that mean I can arrest people now if they are a threat to completing our mission? No. If anyone needs arresting, you just tell me about it. Got that? That's disappointing. Kia notices my slumping shoulders and enclosed an addendum to their last sentence. Look, if you want to warn people that they could potentially be arrested if they don't stop getting in the way, that would probably be okay. It's kind of the same thing. Indeed, close enough for me. I like this sense of power. We best get in the carriage. No need to attract any more attention. We all agree and once again head towards the vehicle. Wait a moment, Val. I slow down and look at Kia. January also stops, looking between me and Kia with some concern. However, Piper gives January a gentle nudge and smile, and he reluctantly heads on with her. Once they were in the carriage, Kia began speaking in a low tone to me. For this mission to work, I'm going to operate under the assumption that the story you and January told us at the police station is true, but I wanted to give you one last chance to come clean and tell me the whole truth, if it just so happens to be different from that tale. Have you anything to say? I look at the carriage in the back at Kia. I shrug. I want to go with January and be on the team. Is that all you have to say for yourself? Yes. With a heavy sigh, Kia shakes their head. Fine, be that way, but don't think you're going to get away with it forever. Now hurry up and get to the carriage. We've wasted enough time as it is. Kia turns their back on me and heads towards the gadabout. Glad to be free, I rush off to join January in the carriage. When I open the door and step into the carriage, January greets me with a big smile. Welcome back. I hope Kia did not trouble you. No more than usual, but it does not matter. I'm glad to be with you and on our way at last. What exactly did Kia say? Imagine you could figure it out for yourself. There is a little less that Kia speaks about. Piper smirks at the comment. I can certainly guess. Well, I better get to the controls. Someone's got to drive this thing. She moves into the control position near the front of the vehicle, then begins flipping switches and things to get it fired up. The steam engine roars, and the whole vehicle shudders as it comes to life. Piper picks up the radio and presses a button. This is Piper calling Kia. Do you read me? Kia's voice crackles out of the radio. I hear ya. Sound quality is not so good on these things either. Yeah. How about you be grateful we have them at all? Piper laughs lightly. No need to get so uptight about it. Piper out. She clicks off the radio and sets it aside, focusing again on the controls. She pushes a lever and the steam carriage chucks forward. January turns to me with a bright smile. Just 2 days. I nod, smiling behind my mask. 2 days. The carriage rattles along as it moves, but the ride is smooth enough. Despite it being peak of the afternoon, it is rather dark inside the passenger compartment. We must keep the windows covered at all times on the off chance anyone is around, which is perfectly fine with me. I already have a flawless view. In the control area, I notice Piper reach out for the radio speaker again as she begins talking to the other person who is unfortunately on this trip. So, Kia, how do you want to use these radios? Should we leave them on at all time or turn them on only when we need to talk with you? I wouldn't want to distract you with our conversations. Right, about that. The radios have to remain on the entire time and there will be no chatting. Keep things as quiet as possible. You expect us to spend the whole day in silence? Yes, unless it's an emergency, no one should say anything. Are you being serious? Did you not hear me the first 2 times? You cannot blame me for needing something so extreme reaffirmed. What kind of requirement is it? Oh my god, I'm switching between English and Dutch. Ugh. So I'm taking Dutch classes in the past few days, and it's kind of difficult for me to switch between them. They're so closely related, like English and Dutch. So anyways, anything's quiet so I can pay attention to the surroundings and notice possible dangers. What is more important than that? I had things I wanted to discuss with January. There's a little thud heard over the radio. I believe Kia had the back of their head against the gadabout. They truly need to learn how to be happy for others. As did I. It does seem rather onerous, Officer Kia. If the radio on our side is off, you'll have all the silence you need. We can simply turn the radio back on if we ever need to get in touch. You've got the rest of your lives to have conversations. Radio on, mouths off, starting now. I dig my fingers into the lining of my seat and glare vehemently at the radio speaker. I'm so upset it matters not at all that it is an entirely useless endeavor. as Kia is not only somewhere else, but they wouldn't be able to notice my look even if they were in the carriage, considering I always wear a mask. It is the thought that counts, as they say. Anderson will be very, very quiet. Pepper makes a casual motion that causes January to gasp. Then he starts to chuckle softly. What happened? She turned off the radio. What? I'm genuinely taken aback. Why would you do that? Not that I have an issue with it, of course. Like you said, it was extreme. Oh, all right. This is nice, but won't Kia know you shut it off? Pepper takes her hand off the controls for a moment to face us directly. Actually, no. This model doesn't have an indicator showing whether the other end is on and off. Since theirs is presumably still on, we'll be able to hear Kia and can turn it back on to respond when needed, but for now they won't be able to hear us. So you don't mind us having a conversation? Certainly not, though I may have to interrupt every now and then. We should turn the speaker back on periodically for one of us to cough or something, just so that Kia doesn't get suspicious. I approve of your way of thinking. Indeed, very cunning of you, Piper. Don't give me too much credit yet. I didn't do it just for fun and games. There's something important we need to discuss, and it's for the best to keep Kia out of that loop, if you understand me. January and I exchange glances, and it is evident we both know what Piper is talking about. Piper turns back to the road ahead, but continues to address us. So, Duke, what did you cover for Seer? Seer is certainly an abnormal. That outfit is too authentic to be otherwise, and their actions betray them even more than their clothes. We're going to be working together for a little while, so I feel it's important I know. January smiles confidently, unperturbed by the question. That's simple. Sarah and I are to be married. I saw it for myself, and in fact we are already engaged. It may not be entirely legal, but what type of person would have stood there and let their loved one be taken away? I nod enthusiastically, beaming at January. That's right. Piper yet again looks towards us. I've never seen her so surprised before. Why would you get engaged so quickly? What reason we have to wait? As I've said, I've seen that we will be married in the future. Precisely. Why bother trying to put off the inevitable? Despite looking amused at the situation, as per usual, I detect a hint of concern in Piper's voice. Oh, I can think of a few reasons. For example, January, are you certain this is even the person you're going to be married to? I can't imagine you've seen Sear's face or any distinguishing features for that matter. I'm quite positive. From my vision, I know the voice of my future spouse and that they go by Seer on occasion. Doesn't it seem rather improbable that another Seer who happens to sound identical to my Seer would somehow find out about our future together, come find me, and temporarily pretend to be my future spouse until I met the real one? I suppose it is rather unlikely, though anything is possible. I'll just say it's not a risk I would be willing to take. Well, nothing to do about it now. Thank you for understanding. Is there anything else? January's patience is truly remarkable. I don't know how he puts up with such uncalled for questions. That's fine for now. I'll let you know. Fine. Now I have a question of my own. You're not going to bring this confession up with anyone else, are you? I imagine Kia doesn't need convincing to believe you're an abnormal. That doesn't answer my question. I don't see why I would need to. January looks wary over her glib reply, though he doesn't point it out. Well, thank you, Piper, again. Why should I believe you? It's a little too late to be suspicious of me, don't you think? However, I only asked to have a better understanding of what I was dealing with on this trip. If we come to a point where what I heard here is relevant, I'll mention it. Other than that, who am I to interrupt your happy future together? Do you truly mean that? I mean it. Thank you for not trying to separate us. Piper laughs, though it sounds a bit constrained. I wish you both the best. How nice. Oh! All this talk of my circumstances has reminded me of something crucial. Before anything else, there is something I must mention. Kia demanded I tell them what my real name is, so I was forced into picking a normal name for myself. To keep them from getting smug again, please refer to me by Val from now on. Sure. Certainly, Val. This is a marvelous choice, I must say. Thank you. It was simply the first name that came to mind, also known as the name I pick for everyone. Still, it's splendid. And with that settled, I think I better help you understand a little bit about my situation, Val. Piper may be keeping our secret, but as she said, Kea is likely already against us. If the topic comes up, it would be best if you could answer accurately. That is so sensible, though honestly, I'd love to learn more about you either way. Very good.